This is a full enclosure work instruction. Please note items must be dry and free of moisture before beginning the preservation process. Step 1, acquire part and serial numbers or any relevant numbers identifying features. List them below on the work instructions. Orient the tool in the correct position and location considering all steps necessary to complete the job. Take a picture of the item noting any serial numbers are damaged. This is to help us in the future in case of any liabilities. Next, you're going to measure the item, calculate how much guardian material and buffer and Lamiflex are used as well. Small items like this, we usually keep a scrap bin for small items to have excess material and Lamiflex and guardian hanging around. Cut the appropriate amount of guardian material using a straight edge as neatly as possible. Apply your buffer material to any sharp edges on the tool. This basically acts as a cushion to keep the tool from puncturing the guardian material and compromising the enclosure. Duct tape or packing tape work well in this scenario. Place the item on the guardian material. For small items, they can be handheld. Larger items, obviously, you may have to use a forklift or crane. Fold the guardian material to make the ends meet up, and then you're going to form a seam. You're going to go ahead and heat that up with your heat iron, and use the clips if necessary to hold the material in place. Keep it neat. While you're doing this, keep in mind where your vacuum port and where your nitrogen port are going to be. Small items, you can use one port. On very big enclosures, it's often best to have a vacuum port on one end and a nitrogen port on the other. This creates a little bit of turbulence inside of the bag and gives you a true reading of the air content going all the way through the bag. Go ahead and seal the edges up using the hot iron, leaving room for your nitrogen port and vacuum port. The ideal temperature on iron is usually around 375 Fahrenheit for about 3 seconds. Once the seam turns silver, it's sealed. Just be very careful with it. It is fragile until it cools off. Once all your seams are complete and vacuum port is made, insert the green nitrogen hose as far into the bag as possible. This is on an enclosure with one vacuum port. On an enclosure with a vacuum port and a nitrogen port, you would insert the hose on one end and insert the meters on the other end. Oftentimes, it's best to use clips when you place the hose in to make sure that your flow of nitrogen is going towards the other exit versus coming back out the entrance. At the same time, place your meters in the same port and go ahead and open up your nitrogen. The level of flow rate is going to be determined by the size of the bag. You just don't want to overinflate the bag whenever possible. At this time, you're checking your meters. As you can see, the oxygen humidity levels are dropping rapidly on a small bag. It typically doesn't take very long to purge. Watch your meters until your humidity and oxygen levels are acceptable. According to our work instructions, 20% relative humidity or less is acceptable. 7% or less on your oxygen is acceptable. Once you achieve those, shut off the nitrogen tank. Go ahead and take pictures of your readings. Those are going to be documented. You can start to back out your nitrogen hose and start your vacuum at the same time. While still pulling a vacuum, go ahead and seal it off. Once the bag is sealed, you're going to double seal that vacuum port just to ensure there are no leaks. And you're going to do a visual inspection all the way around the bag and all the seals to ensure that there's no visible damage or leaks anywhere. You're going to go ahead and put in a C chip on the outside if requested by the client. Program that chip. cover it with UV tape, and write any identifying numbers that are going to be associated with that tool on the outside of the bag, such as serial numbers. On large items, you often have to tape down excess material. Go ahead and place your Guardian stickers and caution stickers on the enclosure. At this time, the tool is ready to be moved to storage area. Once that's done, sign your completed work instructions, and all your readings are going to be listed in your job file catalog.